Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Geek podcast, where we celebrate geek, nerd, and pop culture. Each week, we deliver the best analysis for fans, by fans, on anything related to movies, TV, video games, comics, anime, and manga. We talk geek. And now, here's the Get Geek podcast.
I guess we'll do that disclaimer whenever we feel like doing it, no?
Yeah, that works, you know.
Like right now.
There you go.
So, guys, everybody that's out there listening, quick disclaimer before we get onto our topics today. Of course, we are still in COVID crisis mode and recording remotely, so you may hear some audio artifacts and so on and so forth. So please bear with us as we bring you all the best content as possible. I can already hear, I feel like there's a little bit of TV or something loud, so we'll get that corrected as soon as we can. But we are going to be bringing you some game news this week. Who wants to bring it in?
All right, let's say what's up.
Hi guys, I'm Wolfie.
I was gonna say let's see. Let's bring it in with the introduction. This is Jose.
AJ.
Eli.
And this is Walt.
Yeah.
All right. So somebody
we got that
bring
out of
us
the way.
in. Yeah, bring it in. Bring it in.
Bring it in. Halo Infinite's open world graphics for an unfinished product are underwhelming. And that's all I will have to say for the rest of the podcast. I have nothing else to say.
Whoa. The topic of the podcast.
That is the topic. There's no other topic for me. That's the only topic.
Oh, God.
And I thought I was going to be the negative one. You know?
No, well, the topic today.
I'll reel
right?
it in.
Topic today. Go ahead, Wolfie.
I was going to say he's being really negative over the results of our polling from our last podcast. But, you know, playing this game, playing The Last of Us 2 so many times consecutively can make you a very negative, dark person.
Depressed.
So it's okay. I understand.
I'm depressed from committing murder over and over again, but it hasn't gotten any better playing Ghost of Tsushima because I'm definitely enjoying killing people in that. But we'll get to that.
Anyway, so our podcast topics today are obviously we're going to be talking a little bit about the Xbox showcase that included the reveal of the Halo Infinite gameplay trailer, as well as some other announcements in the Xbox video gaming world, as well as a first impressions review of Ghost of Tsushima, as we have all, for the most part, I think everyone here has been playing it.
Yeah. I've been playing it for sure.
Yep.
So we're gonna get started right away. We're gonna jump right in, as Jose just mentioned. The only news that it seems to be worthy of the Xbox showcase is going to be, I think, Halo. So I think we're gonna talk about Halo pretty much the whole time we talk about the Xbox showcase. But I'm going to run down the list of all the games that were announced before we get into how we feel about Halo Infinite. With that being the first game that was announced, and the other games that were announced were Fable, Everwild, Outer Worlds, Peril on Gorgon, Grounded, Psychonauts 2, The Medium, Warhammer 40k Dark Tide, Stalker 2, which looks quite interesting, and we also have Avowed, State of Decay 3, didn't know there was a 1 or 2, Forza Motorsport, Tell Me Why, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, As Dusk Falls, Destiny 2, Phantasy Star Online 2, New Genesis, Tetris Effect Connected, The Gunk, Crossfire X. So, who wants to talk about Halo?
I will let somebody else go first.
AJ's our resident Halo expert.
Yes, he
so,
is.
AJ, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
So right now, I'm disappointed.
Tell us why.
There are a few new. Before I go into that, I at least want to give it some credit with the few highlights I did see. Note that word "few."
I think there are a few highlights, more than a few, but the graphics aren't one of them. But go ahead.
So there's a new feature. I didn't quite catch the name of it, but apparently we're Batman now because we have a grappling hook. So there's that. That'll provide for some
You
very
you don't like the grappling hook?
I don't know how to feel about that yet. Like I can already see
Okay.
online matches. It's all it's gonna be is about the grappling hook.
That might be a problem. It could be.
I don't know. I don't know if that's an
Like
accurate
that is something
assessment.
that's gonna break competitive play, in my opinion.
I don't think that's absolutely true. I think that the grappling hook is going to be really useful in a game that has a much more expanded terrain.
It depends on what they do with multiplayer. Also, if they're going to make it like somewhat open world, or if they're going to continue with the Halo tradition of having more closed maps, smaller maps, at least with the ones that don't have vehicles involved. Or maybe they'll battlefield it up and they'll have huge maps with huge, with huge conflicts and more players and vehicles and all that. I don't know.
The other thing that that kind of caught my attention is we don't have any more of the stupid rivalry we had in Halo 5. Thank God.
I actually kind of liked it. I didn't think that they did it amazing, but I actually kind of liked it.
Can somebody explain what rivalry is? Because I haven't played Halo 5.
You know what, AJ? Why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown of the timeline of Halo?
I'm sorry. Could you? So Halo 5, if I were to boil it down in a nutshell, it's unnecessary drama. Spartan Locke versus Master Chief. That is basically the game.
Okay.
And then you have the added. Are you going to play it?
Yeah, I'll play it, but you can spoil it.
Okay,
so
I won't say what I was about to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to play them because they're all available. The Master Chief Collection and Halo 5 are all available on Game Pass and whatnot, and through other various means. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, unnecessary drama, kind of far, at least to me, it was a far left, oh, look at the new villain. But it looks like I don't want to say it looks like they've completely cast that off, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did make its way into this game, but it doesn't look like that's the focus as of the moment. So I'm good with that. Thank goodness.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I actually like that angle. I kind of like it because I guess I had a little bit of fatigue of humans versus aliens, so to speak. So I kind of like the idea of there being another human faction to fight against. So that's how I looked at it. While I think that I didn't like Locke's motivations and his stories and stuff like that or whatever, but I felt like that it was a decent angle to go with. So personally, but to each his own. I know that was a big gripe for a lot of people.
Yeah. He's still not getting it.
No.
Sorry. All right, it's all good. It's just my opinion. What else do you think? What else did you? What else do you? Did you? What other nuggets did you find in there?
What the?
No. We're talking about Infinite. We're talking about Infinite.
Oh, Infinite. Okay. So we're done with Halo 5. All right.
Halo 5 is done.
Good.
Yeah.
What? The other thing that I think this is probably my last point with Halo 5, the good things that Halo Infinite brings to the table. What's the name of the new character they've introduced?
The guy?
Yeah, the guy.
I have no idea.
The guy.
Okay.
I don't think they mentioned it in the game.
His name is the guy.
I like him. I like him so far. Halo does really good when it has its little buddy comedy in there. Like, it was Chief and Cortana. Occasionally you had Johnson. I kind of like this guy as the, I don't want to say the new Cortana, but obviously Chief always has someone backing him up, so it's nice to see
Yeah.
that that's broken.
To me, it still kind of remains to be seen. To me, he kind of reminds me of the operator in the Matrix. You know, kind of like the guy that's like, at the helm, but he's always worried and like doesn't really want to jump into the fray, but he does what he's
Or
told.
Q and James Bond, like something like that.
Yeah,
Some sort of like
Or the Punisher, his Punisher sidekick. I can't remember his name.
Charlie and Charlie Thing.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just I don't know, man. I'm gonna miss Cortana quite a bit.
Well, she was in the demo for a quick minute, wasn't she?
she was.
Didn't it sound like it at the very beginning
No,
when they were rebuilding?
No, I don't.
Or that was
I don't think that was
That
Cortana.
was
I think that was just another. I
Just
think
an
that was
AI?
just another female. Yeah,
that or
Yeah.
oh wait, we don't.
no, because do you remember? Did you see the
I was
teaser
also
trailer
gonna say
that was
the
announced?
what?
The teaser trailer, the original like teaser trailer for Infinite. There was like a woman speaking. Like I don't know who it was, but it was like a scientist, I think.
I was
And I
gonna
think that's
say
the
it
same
could
voice.
be Dr. Halsey.
Oh yeah, it could be Dr. Halsey. I forgot about Halsey.
Yeah, because as far as I'm concerned, they didn't kill her off in 5. At least I don't remember them doing that.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
Yeah.
So, like, I know she.
Nothing super dramatic happened in 5, if I remember correctly.
I don't know. There were a couple quote unquote super dramatic things that happened in Halo 5.
Dramatic, yes, but not like dramatic. Like, hey, main character from like the last 5 games are gonna kill you off. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go into what I don't.
the things you hate, because it doesn't. I thought
All
that's what we were already. To be honest with you.
We're starting at the 11-minute point. Tune in 40 minutes for the rest of the stuff. Go for it.
So
What
tell
I
us,
don't
what
like-
don't you like?
I don't like the way it looks so far. I like that, like you said earlier in the podcast, or oh no, you didn't say it. Oh shoot, I'm remembering things
Well,
different.
it's fine. No, it's all good.
Oh,
we had
God.
a discussion. We were obviously talking about
That's how
this as
excited
we were
we are
setting
about
up.
it.
So
I was gonna say that.
We can't
Beforehand, before we got on the podcast, you mentioned that they're kind of going back to the old style of Halo missions, and that what we saw in the
Yeah.
trailer was very reminiscent of the very first mission in Combat Evolved.
yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
See, but
As much as I like that,
it's still
when you actually get out there and look at it, doesn't look very good.
no. It's not. It's
The-
underwhelming.
not
It's underwhelming.
not even that. It kind of looks like there's just too much going on in there. Like
I don't even think that's
in-
the case either, because when you look at like some of the recent games and some games we're going to talk about later, where you have like Ghost of Tsushima, where the particle effects are insane and there's leaves falling off of every tree and like dust kicking out up from every field, the amount of stuff that's going on in Halo Infinite and in the world of Halo Infinite, again, it's unfinished, so I want to be fair to that aspect of it. It's not a complete build of the game, but some of the complaints that have been leveled against it online are that it looks flat, it doesn't look very expansive, and the graphics, yeah, they don't look very advanced for an Xbox Series X game. I think it's partially because like cost is getting prohibitive for some of these games. I think I read somewhere recently that The Last of Us Part 2 cost almost $100 million to make for a video game. You know, that's movie production costs. So it's probably getting really expensive for them to set up games with really impressive graphics and details and all that, and hiring the amount of developers they need to make it as good as they can. And it's a new system. So there's a few things that are fair reasons for why it wouldn't look that impressive. We just saw a PlayStation 5 event where some of the games looked a little more polished, a little more impressive. And if Xbox wants to reverse the console wars, for which they suffered pretty greatly in the last generation, they still made money, but PlayStation, Sony made a lot more money on consoles and sold almost double the amount of consoles. So if they want to reverse it, this is showing for their flagship game.
Well, just to bounce off of that, I don't know if you've seen this, but
the marketing general manager for Xbox Games, Aaron Greenberg, he did say in an interview that this is still a work in progress. I quote, he says, "What you're seeing today, and I can tell you because we're build check-ins every week, and they make progress week after week. Is so now between now and holiday, it's just going to get better and better." Now,
they shouldn't have
the
shown
thing
gameplay.
about it,
They shouldn't have shown gameplay.
exactly. That's
like
what I'm saying.
Other Halo trailers.
Right. And I think that's where I was going with this, because you know what? If you're going to put that as your centerpiece of this showcase and you show it first and you acknowledge that it's a work in progress, at the very least put a disclaimer somewhere where it says this is a work in progress, because now you have millions of gamers out there who are already criticizing the fact that Halo Infinite is not up to snuff, especially when you consider that the Xbox is supposed to be the more powerful of the two consoles. And if you're going to take your tentpole game, which is Halo for Microsoft, and this is what you show at an Xbox game showcase, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me why you would do that, because I think that's a major fail on their part, marketing wise, because you're showing a less than product and not telling people that it's a less than product. You have to wait until afterwards.
Think about like some of the previous Halo marketing commercials where it hasn't been any gameplay, like the iconic Halo 3 trailer where he's walking out of the dust in the desert, and then other trailers where it's not even computer animation. I think it was like figurines or something like that. You guys remember that?
Yeah, and you've had the live action trailers also. You know, show that. You know.
Yeah, there was more. Yeah, exactly. They had that live action trailer as well. They could have done something like that to hype it up and still come out on top instead of showing not even looks like 90% product. And if this is almost finished on graphics, then that kind of signals trouble, in my opinion.
I mean, so obviously everything always comes down to gameplay most importantly, you know, more than anything. So I think that like
to an extent, though, when you're talking about a next gen console,
no, of course, to an extent. Right. And I understand that. And I think that like, and I think when we were done watching the showcase, because we were all kind of remotely watching it together, when we were done watching the showcase, I did say that I think someone at Microsoft marketing might get fired or demoted or something, because I don't think that like I doubt that they're gonna put out a bad product in Halo.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Even Halo 5 be being
the graphics are just a little subpar. The graphics haven't always.
Well, that's
been
what I'm saying though.
Of Halo, though. They have been.
The game looks fine. The game looks fun when you look at it.
When you think about
it, right now we're nitpicking at graphics, but you know,
Halo,
ultimately
awesome.
the game is going to be decided on whether it's fun or not.
Right? I want to play co-op with Walt and AJ. Like, if there's a co-op open world aspect to it, like I'm so on board. Because remember how much fun we used to have.
Right. So
there's good.
But this is what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm trying to say, that I think that like, you know, like I have, you know, they've given us enough between all the Halo 5s, Halo Reach, and, you know, ODST, where even Halo 5 being the weakest entry out of the entire series, not made by Bungie, it was still, I think, a good product from the sense of, you know, textures, gameplay, the multiplayer, everything all around. So I doubt that they're going to give us something that's going to be lackluster in those areas. I think it really wasn't ready to show, you know, and I think that they made the mistake of showing, you know. But that being set aside, my personal opinions are, I'm the misgivings of the graphics. To me, it's not that important. Of course, I don't want crappy graphics. I wouldn't say that the graphics are crappy in total. I would say that they are subpar compared to today's, you know, video games and stuff like that. But I wouldn't necessarily call them like crappy, simply because you do see a lot of objects on the screen at the same time, a lot of stuff going on at the same time. So while the graphics pale in comparison to some of the games that we played, especially The Last of Us 2, which I think graphically is probably the most, I would say the best looking game.
But I'll be
You know,
fair too. That's
know,
not an open world game, so like that's something
that's
to
what I
be
was
fair
gonna
about.
say. That's kind of the difference. That
But like
everything
Red Dead
in
Redemption
everything
2,
in games
you
like
know, and
that.
Ghost of Tsushima, like I said, the amount of detail in those games, and there's, you know what it is to me, it's
Right,
not consistent detail in Halo, and maybe that's a not yet situation,
right.
but like there needs to be
That's again,
consistent detail.
that's understandable, but again, like we're comparing like apples to oranges because there's not as much going on in Ghost of Tsushima or Red Dead Redemption as there is in a Halo campaign game, in a first person shooter
It
game. You know,
depends.
there's so much
Because there's a
more.
lot going on in some of I've passed Act 1. I'm probably one of the furthest into the game, and there's some combat where you're facing off against a lot of dudes in, you know, a small village or castle with a lot of smoke, particle effects, you know, leaves falling, like all of the extra detail that kind of exists in the background of Ghost of Tsushima is still there. And there's a decent amount going on in Halo, but we didn't see like a lot going on. We didn't see like really large scale battles. We saw smaller scale battles with massive.
But again, remember that the entire world of Halo, whatever you can actually see on your screen, you can go to. So all that stuff is being rendered real time as well. So that's like, you know, some of the issues. Like again, I'm not trying to like excuse them. You know, I'm just trying to, you know, I guess for me, I'm reserving judgment. You know, like I'm still going to buy a Series X for Halo just because playing Halo is so different from playing any other first person shooter.
Can I talk a little bit about that though?
Sure, absolutely. That's what the podcast is
Because
about.
and this is not going to be specific to Halo, but I think this is a reason why I felt that this event was a little underwhelming, and it it actually made the case that, you know, I'm probably, if there's a console that I'm gonna get, I'm probably gonna get the PlayStation 5 before I get the Xbox Series X. And the reason I say that is that, you know, not just with Halo itself, but with all the other games, they're very underwhelming. There's nothing there that excited me. I thought the game showcase was fine, but here's the sticking point that I have that makes me say that I'm probably getting the PlayStation before I get the Xbox. And and this is something that we've already known, and at the time I thought it was a great thing for them to do, but now that I've seen this event, I think what they've done is they've kind of shot themselves in the foot, because every single game that they showed off at this showcase, you can play it on the Xbox One. There is no reason right now for you to go and run out and pre-order an Xbox Series X if your goal is to play these games, because every single one of these games you will be able to play
Right.
on your existing hardware.
Now, also,
And for
not even
that
like
reason
down the road,
alone,
except for Halo Infinite, right now
yeah,
you can play every one of
yeah,
these
for
games.
that reason alone, the Xbox Series X is not a must buy for me this year. Because
Right.
why the hell am I going to prepay on a premium to get a new console when the console that I have already does the exact same thing? Now maybe it's not as shiny and pretty as it would be on the Series X, but at the end of the day, what we're discussing right now is how graphics really is not going to matter too much as long as the gameplay is fine. Well, I can do the same thing right now on this Xbox One. Why
Right.
am I
So,
going
but
to go
again,
pay
but
$500-$600
this
for a Series X? You know what I mean?
this actually goes to the point that I wanted to make next. Before we go into the rest of the games on the list, this is something that I felt like I wanted to make as a point regarding the marketing of Microsoft, because I don't think this was billed as an Xbox Series X event. This was Xbox Games Showcase, and I think they made a huge
That's a major
mistake
fail.
in they made a huge mistake in letting the expectation be a showcase of Xbox Series X games, because clearly this wasn't an Xbox Series X games showcase. This should have been billed as the Game Pass showcase for games that you're going to be able to play again, as
But
they mentioned,
but
right here, right
look,
now on
Well,
Xbox One.
hold on.
hey,
Because
look,
if that's hold on,
hey,
if
okay.
that's the expectation that was set, then we wouldn't have been going into the event waiting to compare it to Sony's event.
But you also have to remember, though, when they were showing off these things, they kept on focusing on this is a console launch game.
Well, hold on. That's not even.
So it was in a sense, it was a Series X event because whenever they showed a gameplay trailer, they made the focus that this is going to be console exclusive. This is going to be
they did
a
that.
world
They did that for some of the
launch
games,
event.
but not all the games. Right?
Wait. Let me make a point here, because that's not even an issue necessarily with these being console launch exclusives or whatever the designation is. It's Microsoft's overall marketing strategy is you can play all of their games on all of their hardware and all their systems, including Windows. So that's more of an issue with, they have to kind of honor that. Even with Xbox Series X games, they have to honor the fact, and also the smart delivery, all these things that they're promising, they have to honor those. So that's kind of part of the reason why you have all of these games already being out and already being on.
Right.
That's right.
And again, that's what I'm saying, that like it's a marketing issue, because they should have set better expectations, or at least even call it something different. Because one of the articles that I read, I think it was also from Eurogamer or Wired, not sure. I think we all read the same one also, the one regarding oh, no. Sorry. I read this on Polygon. They made a really good observation, which is like, even though the event was really overwhelming, they created something, or creating an ecosystem that's going to change gaming forever, potentially, if what they signaled with this event is what their intentions and plans are, which is,
Netflix?
the game, the Netflix of gaming, $10 a month and play every single game in the library. That actually
they didn't
is
even
quite
feature
huge.
that.
But that's what I'm saying. They dropped the ball in the design of this event, to be honest with you. This is, because clearly when they're going to have a separate event to showcase the actual Series X, to showcase the power of the Series X, to showcase all the new features that's going to come, as well as showcasing the third party games that they didn't. So in my opinion, I almost feel like this event shouldn't have happened until they did that first. If they wanted to whet the appetite, they did it very poorly.
And you want to talk about,
what they probably should have done? They should have probably just focused on a couple of games. Instead of doing this whole thing where you're showing like 25 to 30 games, and quite frankly, some of them I really don't care about. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Right.
you had the Halo game, you had the Fable game, and things of that nature, which are exciting onto themselves. But another one that they showed was Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is about 2 or 3 years old. Who cares about
more
that?
than that.
You know what I'm saying? You're talking about
People
a
care,
new
but
console, and the
impressed.
best you can do is bring Destiny 2 to the table. I mean,
Again,
I
this
understand.
is why I say that I don't think that like they even intended to be talking about a new console.
No,
which
I
is why
know,
they didn't
and I
even,
get, and and there's a part of me that understands what their strategy is, because I think what Microsoft's ultimate goal is to step away from hardware and do what they do best, which is services, which is cloud gaming and things of that nature. The Netflix of gaming. But you know what? You didn't get any sense of that in this thing. And like I said, like you said also, it's a marketing fail on their part. And it's the worst kind, because you already had PlayStation dominate the last generation. The last thing you want to do is to have your base underwhelmed by what's coming. And for a fact that there are people who maybe are on the fence between getting a PlayStation and an Xbox, and they saw that event on Thursday, and they're like, you know what? I didn't see anything. Not for nothing. The PlayStation games that they showed were more exciting to me than the Xbox games right now.
Not by much.
Actually, I kind of want to.
Right, not by much though.
I do want to hear from Eli. What's up?
I'm kind of iffy on that, because really all of the games were underwhelming. Not just Xbox One X, but even the PS5, right?
PS5, yeah.
Yeah, because you would expect a lot more from these games. Like we're hearing of games that aren't really known throughout. They're trying to bring out new games.
Yeah.
like sort of like
what was the one that we thought looked really cool? That was Hellblade 2, right?
Hellblade 2. Yeah,
They did not show one single thing because that game is still in development. They didn't show anything except for a guy talking about them working on Hellblade 2.
yeah,
How does that excite me?
And
I want to
talking about
see the
playing the
thing. I
first
don't want
one.
to see the guy talking about the development cycle on a game. Hellblade 2 looks in theory like a good game. I saw none of that.
yeah. Like they're not really. They need to step up their game and showing off the games, because they're showing off like somewhat kind of newer games, like
Avowed was one of them that we saw.
yeah,
was okay.
and
Yeah.
they're
That looks
they're
okay.
trying, you have other games that you can show, and expanding on Walt's idea, you're showing more games, you're showing more games, but what we want is not quantity, more quality in games, especially the graphics, which should have been really, really much better than the original graphics, which you can see in Halo Infinite. It's not as well as Halo Anniversary, which looked very well, as AJ pointed out to me before. You could see the texture in their faces. You can almost see more emotion in their faces than Halo Infinite, which is
Yeah.
something that I didn't like in Halo Infinite.
Other than the
So
lighting,
they really need to.
other than the lighting in Halo Infinite, you could probably pull most of that off on an Xbox One X. You don't need an Xbox Series X.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Again, I think it's like we all agree that it was an underwhelming showing all around, top to bottom. No, because even the Fable announcement, there was no gameplay.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like Fable could have kind of picked it up a little, but they showed that all they did was give us like a super tiny teaser trailer to Fable.
You know what though?
Yeah, they pulled
so-
an Apple, one that thing that Steve Jobs was famous for. Oh, by the
Yeah.
way, we have one more thing,
One more
and
thing,
then they
yeah.
dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, I know. Like this is like one of the this could actually be studied as a what not to do from a marketing perspective.
I don't think either company did that great. I mean, here's how I look at it, because
No,
talked
you're
about it-
absolutely right. They didn't.
well, hold on. Like part of what we talked about a few weeks ago when we talked about the PlayStation 5 event was kind of how both systems were underwhelming, and we were waiting to see how Xbox would respond, and Xbox did not respond in a really strong way. I think we all agree about that. And we'll talk about some of the other games that
Yeah.
are coming out. And I don't want to completely like crap on all of the stuff that we saw, because there's some games that look like they're going to be really fun. Like Halo Infinite looks like it's going to be really fun. But here's
Right.
the thing. Here's the thing that to me puts it in perspective, because the best thing that we have seen graphically from either of these systems so far is that PS5 tech demo that they showed before they even showed the games. You guys remember that? Where it's not even a game. They just showed this tech demo to show off how fantastic and powerful their solid state drive technology is.
No, I think that is a game. I forgot what the name of the game
No,
is.
it's not a game. It's not a
That
game.
is- that is.
It's a tech demo. I
Are you talking about the one where the that little sprite is flying through a canyon or whatever?
Yeah, that's not a game. That's not a game. I've checked it over and over
Are
again.
you sure about that?
Yeah, it's the tech demo. I'm certain about that.
We'll have to get back to you guys on that one.
We'll get back to you
But-
on that one.
Yeah.
But, like, that's the best looking thing we've seen so far. And even if it is a game, we haven't seen any more of it. And if that one tech demo, and of course it's a tech demo, it's supposed to show off the power of the graphics. But if there's no game that even comes close to that, then that is underwhelming on the part of both systems. And I think that's kind of the big issue with me.
Yeah, but keep this in mind though.
Yeah.
Tech demos are generally going to look better than any of their own games. Also, tech
Looks a lot
demos,
better though. A lot better.
right? No, I understand, but I like a tech demo is like a concept car, right? Like they can create the concept car, but they'll never bring it to production because it'll cost
I
too
get
much.
I get your
from a
point for
production
sure.
standpoint,
I get
so.
your point for sure, but it's just such a
But I
big
understand.
gap.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
To put what I said before into better words,
Mhm.
what I was trying to say was basically what the marketing strategy was done wrong, as you guys were saying. But what they should have done was not show off the newer games that we've like never really heard of because they're world premiere, but show off the games that players or gamers have been excited for like a while. like Halo Infinite, they showed that off, but then you have Hellblade, which I know that a lot of people have. I think people have seen that before. It wasn't the world premiere where they didn't.
Yeah, that was
They
in one
didn't
of the
like.
Right. There was
previous.
nothing unexpected
Yeah.
It was in
necessarily.
one of the previous.
Yeah.
So real quick, why don't we go around and each name like maybe one game that you guys were impressed with, or like that intrigued you. I mean, me personally, I'm super excited for a new Phantasy Star Online. That I'm totally excited about, and
I'll second
I
that.
kind of
I'll second that.
I want to kind of jump
It
in
looks
on
good
that.
too.
Yeah, it looks great. Remarkably though, it looks very similar to Halo Infinite graphics as far as like the quality goes.
It's a much faster
But
game though, so I give it a
yeah, it's a much
little
faster
more
game,
credit to
and
that. A little bit
yeah,
more.
and Fantasy Star Online has always been a little bit more, I guess generic in their landscaping and design and stuff like that. But it's a ton of fun. I haven't played Fantasy Star Online since I think Dreamcast
Yeah.
or
Well, I've had the
Saturn.
I have the second one, and I've only dabbled in it, but we've been
Yeah, like I
playing other
wanted
stuff.
to, but I didn't. I didn't jump in and stuff like that. But now that I'm kind of back into video gaming Gabe, mode,
We all are these
I'm
days.
totally in on playing, on checking out Fantasy Star Online too. What about Jose? And anything else that like you thought that that was cool from the other games?
Well, there were a few that I thought, in spite of like the negativity that we've kind of
Yeah, I
colored
know.
this
That's why I
with
wanted to like because there
so
was a
far.
lot of good stuff.
There was a lot.
There, I thought that there was good stuff. Not great, but
There was
good.
like just like quick mentions, like one other game besides Fantasy Star Warhammer looked good, but the game that looked
Yeah,
really interesting to me because I think we all said the same thing when we were watching the reveal together. We were chatting, and no, I said this, and I think everybody else got the same vibe. The Medium looked kind of like a Silent Hill style game.
Oh heck yeah! Oh man, the medium that does
It
look
does
good.
look interesting. Like it could end up being like kind
Yeah.
of a crappy like choose your own adventure, like not very well executed uh, story style game, but it did look kind of creepy. It did look like it had kind of that very similar atmospheric fear that Silent Hill always excelled at, and that's why like a lot of us in the group
Hmm.
like really enjoyed Silent Hill. So that was something that stood out to me, and the graphics look pretty impressive as well. I do want to find out more about what they're talking about and why it's important that both. Remember, they kind of said that both realities for that game were being rendered at the same time. So it's kind of that Silent Hill dark reality where everything is kind of twisted, weird walls, and your character looks different, and like they're
Yeah, but
can't
we
see
also
you.
got to see that like she clearly passes through, I guess, to like a future self of hers, like an older version of
Yeah,
herself.
there's something to
Right.
Yeah,
that.
it looks like
So
she can bounce back and forth.
Right.
yeah,
I want to see
yeah.
like what more to that, if it's just like a gimmick or if there's something interesting to it. Like it reminds me a little bit of the Soul Reaver games and how that was kind of a cool mechanic in those games, going between the world of the dead and the world of the living, so to speak. And I want to see if this game kind of pulls off something similar and interesting. So that's kind of what I thought was cool.
What about you, Walt?
Well, I was kind of intrigued with the medium also. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the Silent Hill games. So once I saw that, it was instantly one of the things that perked my interest and stuff. Another game that seemed kind of interesting was Stalker 2.
Mhm.
I was gonna mention that one next. Actually, that one looked pretty
Yeah,
interesting too. Even though we didn't, did it have gameplay? I don't remember
No,
if it
no
had
gameplay.
gameplay.
Just
I don't think it
yeah, I
did.
think it might have
I
been
listen.
in-game
I
footage,
didn't.
but not gameplay.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware that there was a Stalker 1 to begin with.
Heard of
And
it.
I think even when we were chatting while we were watching this event, I was like, "There's a Stalker 1," you know.
Well, it
Um,
looked very similar to like The Last of Us, no? As far as like the world, like kind of like obviously, you know, everything is just run down and dark, and very little, people or civilization and stuff. Is what it
well,
reminded
I'm
me of.
actually curious. I'm actually curious to try the first game because apparently, I'm looking at the Wired website where we're kind of pulling the list of games here, and supposedly the first one takes place in Chernobyl. So
Right.
yeah, so
I'm probably gonna pick up the first one just to give it a once through, just to see how good it is. But it did look interesting, you know. That's really, I mean, you know, I like the fact that Jack Black was there to give us a song on one of the other games. I think it was Psychonauts.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I'm not gonna hold my hopes up just because Jack Black is in a game, you know, singing a song.
Psychonauts 2.
Actually, real quick, hold on, real quick. I'm actually reading the Wikipedia for Stalker, and apparently the original Stalker, the first game of the series, the player takes on the role of an amnesiatic stalker referred to as the Marked One, who is tasked with killing another stalker named Strelok. During the course of the game, the protagonist uncovers clues. Don't want to spoil anything, so blah 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 blah. Very interesting fact: Shadow of Chernobyl, which is the first Stalker, features 7 endings, and these endings are
Really?
dependent on multiple factors such as money earned during the game, supporting certain factions, or how much the protagonist's memory was pieced together.
See, now that's something
I'm
that's
intrigued.
interesting.
It's even crazy.
Yeah,
And
that's
this is
something that,
and this
that's
game came out in
interesting.
2007.
Wow, so this is a
So
13-year-old
yeah,
game.
yeah. So maybe that's why we just weren't in the loop that back then when this game came out. Whoever
Do they
was
have a
fans of
rating
it,
for
I'm
it?
sure that they're like, huh?
Do they have a rating for it?
Let me go to Metacritic real
I've
quick.
heard of the game, but I've never like actually reached out to try to.
Dude, I have never heard of this game. You know,
Oh, actually, there's it's because it's a PC game, and that's what I thought. I remember seeing that on discount on
okay.
on Steam. It's 82 for the first one, 80 for the second expansion, and 75 for the third expansion.
Well, I guess I won't be revisiting that because I don't play games on the PC. So,
What? Why not?
You guys are on it. You know,
Dude, it's a
Bro, I'll hook
2006
you up with
game.
Steam. I'll hook you up with
You
yeah.
just like you know what
I'm
I
a-
did? I just
we are a
partition.
PC-less house over here.
Boot
We
camp.
just do MacBooks and
Boot
stuff
camp,
like
bro.
that. You know what I mean?
You can.
Windows 10
I'm sure you.
and
Yeah.
just like
We can figure it out. This game looks really interesting. I'm super excited about this now.
yeah, just get it on Steam. Dude.
All right,
Alright.
Boot
Xbox.
camp it.
I'm
Hey,
with it.
listen. There's a positive thing out of this Xbox game showcase.
Yeah.
We're gonna be revisiting a 13-year-old game. Yay!
Yo, listen,
awesome.
don't get snappy with us, okay? What about all right,
saying.
Eli, what struck you the most? Like, what game got you the most intrigued or
Which was
excited?
the least
from the
corny game of the entire?
I want to know. Actually, I'd like to know what's the corniest game in your.
The corniest game and the least corny game.
The corniest game is probably
Halo Infinite.
yeah, Halo Infinite.
No,
yeah,
I
sorry.
knew it. I knew it.
Are you kidding
I
me?
knew it.
Dude, the corniest game has to be
Oh, no,
Grounded.
no.
The one,
Grounded.
Honey, I Shrunk
Honey,
the
I
Kids
Shrunk
game.
Yeah, Grounded was corny as heck.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to the developers and everything. We're just poking fun.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is a dope movie, so maybe this is going to be like the best game of all of the launch games. You have no idea.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah.
Hey, can I give a shout out to the game that has the best name?
What?
Which one?
Huh?
Which one?
That was pretty easy. That's the Gunk, man.
The Gunk?
You got to get the Gunk.
See, the Gunk.
Come on, bro.
The graphics look kind of cool
seriously.
in that game, though.
Yeah, the Gunk look good.
The graphics.
That's what I'm saying. You go get the Gunk. Hashtag
Eli,
go get the Gunk, man.
which is the
Anyway, one of the games that was very interesting to me was Warhammer 40K.
Yeah.
It was a very short preview, but
Dark Tide.
yeah, Dark.
Yeah, it's called Warhammer 40K Dark Tide.
Oh, okay, okay. But yeah, it really reminded me. Well, somewhat reminded me of Dead Space and a little bit of Doom. I don't know why, but it had the spook factor, which was one of the things that perked my interest. I can't really say much since it was such a short preview, but the graphics look good, I guess, and it was very spooky.
You haven't yet.
Yeah.
Warhammer's pretty cool.
It reminded me of is it Prey? Or no, that's not the game. Black. reminded me of Black. Remember
dude,
that shooting game?
Black.
I think Walt was talking about that.
Black was the one where you can shoot everything, right?
And yeah, there was the one with the horror elements as well, wasn't it?
No, dude, I think.
I don't think Black did.
Oh,
I think
you're
that was
talking
Prey.
about the one that had like it was kind of like The Grudge, where like a little girl would like kind of like come on screen out of nowhere.
What game was that?
Yeah, isn't that Prey?
Was that?
Isn't that Prey?
Prey. That was
think
the
it's
game
Prey.
where you were the Native American dude, I think, which was totally different.
I don't know.
I think it was Black.
No,
It's not Black, because Black was straight up. That was a PS. I think that was a PS2 game, and that was the one where you are this military guy, and the claim to fame for Black was that you could shoot anything, like you could shoot through walls, you could shoot. That was the thing. That didn't have any horror elements.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it is, but that's that horror.
I remember which one though.
Game.
That other one had like bullet time also, right?
So everybody
Oh,
remember
was
that
it
game.
Fear?
Yes.
I think it was Fear.
Fear.
Dude,
It was Fear.
that game scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, that's the one.
Those are the kind of the vibes
That
that
game-
got Warhammer a little bit.
So let's see what AJ's excited about. He's probably excited about Tetris.
I mean,
I'm sorry if I'm sounding really negative. I thought the event was fine, but Tetris, come on.
Multiplayer Tetris.
you guys kind of said all of them already. To be honest, you had
Well, out of the ones that we said, which was the most.
Is there a runner-up?
for me, it's just Dark Tide and the other one, the medium, and then
What about the one that was like the Skyrim ripoff?
I said
which one was
said
that
that.
one?
That one was, I think it was Avowed.
Well, that's
Oh, is that what it was?
it's made by the same developer, isn't it? Or no, it's made by.
Oh, the one where it looked like a Balrog was about to walk out into the.
There you go.
Oh, okay, yeah, that one looks okay.
That game
Yeah,
was dope.
Yeah.
That was one of the better
and
ones.
of course,
Yeah, Valve was cool. I like
still
Valve
holding
was
out
cool.
for Halo. I don't know though.
Have faith.
The
Have
new-
faith. Have faith in the
The new
Forerunners.
Tartarus 2.0 isn't really doing it for me.
Okay.
Is that the end of is that the end of our showcase discussion?
Yeah,
Should we have
I think we
runners
should
up?
move on. I think it was an okay event. Despite all my negativity, I think it was an okay event, but it just, like I said, it didn't make the case for me to run out and get a new Xbox. If anything, the console that I'm going to be going for, if I get any, would be the PS5 right now.
I'm
Because,
telling you,
again,
wait.
No. Listen, I understand that later on there's going to be a case for the Series X, but I think, like you said before, and I think like everybody here has said, this is a big marketing fail because they had to come out on this event with full guns blazing, because they're trying to get back, the console wars. They're trying to take back the lead. And you have such a powerful console, and you showed none of what it could do on this event.
What about?
And if you're going to say that it's just about the games and not the console, then you should have said it straight up. This is just games. These are not games that are specific just to the Series X. Or you could have framed this as saying that this is an Xbox Game Pass event. And that I could have been like, that I could have gotten with, you know what I'm saying?
That's what I think that they messed up by not setting the expectations.
Yeah, exactly. So, to me, it's just like, it was okay, but nothing there is going to really get me excited for the new Xbox.
Not even
there really
right.
isn't.
Not even.
I understand later on during the console development, they are going to get better in terms of, managing the architecture of the game to output some awesome games, but that's not what they needed right now. They needed that big smoking gun that was going to say, hey guys, Microsoft is back. And I didn't get any of that.
Not even. Tell me why. Tell me why. The game. Tell me why.
Dude, that looked like a CW game.
Well, you know
it
what?
really did.
Okay, so I was
Not
gonna
in-
say, what was interesting about that game to me is that actually graphically, that's one of the best games you'll see, except for the character animations. It's
I,
actually
I
one of the
because
best
everyone
appreciate
has a
games
specific
graphically
art style. I think.
on Xbox Series X that you see in this game show. And it's kind of weird that
listen,
yeah,
I will say this about that game. I appreciate the fact that they're trying to do a story narrative because honestly, as I was watching the trailer, it really felt like I was watching a trailer to a TV show rather than a game.
yeah. No,
You know, so
I'm mostly
I do
joking,
appreciate that aspect,
but there were some
but it still
impressive
felt like CW.
impressive graphical effects in that game of all games. But like I said, I just don't
Yeah,
think that they did really good motion
I
capture.
mean, if they had just said that this is the Xbox One game showcase, then it would have made more sense. Clearly, because all the games are Xbox One games that will also play on the Xbox Series X. That would have made more sense also. So I look at it from that purview. But again, my
well,
same. I
they
think we
should
all
have.
share the same opinion. I think that like they just it's not the event that they needed right now.
And you know what, I kind of disagree a little bit, and I do agree with the fact that they shouldn't have built it. They should have built it as a Game Pass event because apparently all these games are
Right.
going to be available on Game Pass then the day that it launches.
They are available.
So
Right.
I think they should have leaned into that a little bit more and said, hey, we're moving away from physical games. This is a Game Pass. Every single game that we're showcasing here, you can play on the Game Pass day one.
Which is also
That's
like their
something.
main strategy too, because when you consider the fact that like they've been on a shopping spree of game developers over the last few years, it's specifically for this, so that they can pump out games on a regular basis, even if they're mediocre and not AAA games. For the people that are going to be paying $10 a month and need new games to play on a monthly basis, weekly basis, whatever it is, you need to have enough content that's not that AAA game, expense. You know what I mean?
Listen,
So
I
it, it,
also
it
wonder
makes
if
sense. They did it wrong.
I'm sorry.
There's
I
not enough.
also wonder if the pandemic has something to do with this. Also, I'm pretty sure it does.
I don't think
Mm,
so.
Because
no, I know. I've
just
I've spoken to a lot of people in the industry, and they say that like it hasn't really, simply because the only thing that has changed is really they thought that it might have had an issue with development, but it turns out that it didn't, because for the most part, developers work on in front of their computer in an office 80 hours a week, and because of crunch and all other elements and factors, they don't actually do a lot of socializing and stuff like that. So them moving to a home office, they're still able to produce the same work, so it hasn't really affected them as much. If anything, some have said that like they've been able to be a little bit more efficient because of it.
Yeah,
So
didn't Sony
w-
say
don't
they
you
were
lose a
gonna?
little bit of the collaboration?
Well, didn't Sony say they were gonna
Maybe.
manufacture more systems also for the PS5 recently? Like, I don't think that business is suffering at
I
all.
know, but
no, but I
I
think
guess
collaboratively, not so much, because the thing is that most collaboration, even within the studio, happens for the most part through asset
oh,
delivery between departments, and that's all
gotcha.
done through their cloud and stuff. The only real collaboration happens for the most part, when they have like meetings between art, department and executive department, producing and stuff like that, story development. But those things still happen nowadays, through Zoom, and those meetings don't happen on a regular basis when it comes to actual development and production. Those things happen generally on like every 2 weeks. They'll have like an iterative meeting to work on like what's the next 2 weeks of work going to look like, what's the you know the focus of the next 2 weeks, so to speak, when it comes
All right,
to app delivery and stuff. So
that
but
makes
anyway,
sense.
I think that's the end of the showcase. But before we move on to Ghost of Tsushima, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. um
Ushima.
if you guys, if you guys have a moment, while you guys are listening, take a moment to rate us, subscribe, follow us wherever you can. It goes a long way towards helping us out, helping us grow our platform, and grow our podcast, as we do contests for you guys, and giveaways and that sort of stuff, and try to bring you the best content. So if you guys got a moment, go ahead and rate us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere that you can find us. Subscribe, download, share it with everybody. Share this episode with somebody you think you might be able to have a conversation with right after you're done. We would really appreciate it. So, all right, Ghost of Tsushima. First impressions.
Let's get
I've
into
only I've only played a very small amount of the game. I thought that I was going to be able to play a lot more of it, but I have not. I think I've only played like 2 or 3 hours max.
If it's any
So
consolation, I've just been a passive observer.
hey, I mean, look, like you're still part of it, as you know, you're still able to appreciate the game, right? Um, so as an observer, what are your first impressions, AJ?
So I actually saw Eli play through the opening. I gotta say that it's pretty interesting. I like how they did the. I don't know if we're doing spoilers yet, but I like the way they do the training system for the game. I thought that was pretty fun and interesting. And then I guess the villain looks pretty cool too. Historically,
Yeah,
you love the
yeah.
Mongols, especially the Khans. They're great guys.
The Kotal Khan.
It's
Well,
yeah, that sounds like his name. It's K Khan. I can never get his first name.
Khotan Khan.
Khotun.
Khotan.
Khotun
Yeah.
Khan.
Khotan. Oh, okay.
I gotta admit, I also do like the villain in the game where it's not an outright villain where he's like an evil person necessarily. He's just on his side of the times, right? And that time during those times, it's about warmongering and conquering, and he's like, you know, he's he gives leeway, tries to be diplomatic here and there and stuff like that. He tries to be semi honorable and stuff like that, or at least recognize other people's honors so far in the game. He's
Yeah.
just on the other side of the same coin, you know.
I
So I kind
love
of
his
like that.
introduction.
Yes,
I love his introduction
it
because
was awesome.
It's better in
Yeah.
Japanese so far. I mean, the English version is pretty well done, but like
I
his
am
Japanese
going to
voice.
speak on that. I have some things to say about that as well. I can't wait to talk about a little bit about like the language and the accessibility
It's
things
so
that they
Mhm.
have
good.
and stuff. But yeah, Walt, yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, like I said, I love the introduction of the Khan character. I love that little speech where he's talking to Lord Shimura, and he's like, you guys, all you've been doing is preparing for war, and he's you could tell that he's a different type of villain because he goes and he's outright saying, I've been studying you guys, I've been watching your culture, listening to your language, understanding, your processes. That to me
Yes.
is a different kind of villain than we're kind of used to, because this is like a thinking man's villain. You know what I'm saying?
He's
He's
Yeah.
not.
Mongol
He's a
Thanos.
brute. He's
He
huge. He can be vicious, but at the same time, there's
He's not just a tool.
he's cerebral about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I really
he sounds
appreciate. And now,
He's Mongol
Mhm.
Thanos.
he sounds like a student of Sun Tzu.
Yeah,
Of Sun Tzu's
exactly.
Art of War. He sounds like a student of Sun Tzu's Art of War.
Yep.
So I really appreciate that.
Which they do mention the book in the game. So,
Mm,
I find that interesting that you mentioned that also.
mm.
So
Well, you know that this was the game that I was really, really,
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah,
waiting for. So
yeah.
this
I
this
had
is
Final Fantasy VII. Jose had the Last of Us 2, which I hope is the last of. Sorry, and then you had Ghost of Tsushima. So
couldn't
yeah,
resist.
I couldn't help it, Jose. I'm sorry. I'm trying to suppress the Last of Us 2 trolling as much as I can. I'm trying. I really
We've
am.
already had our debate. It's not my fault that you're incorrect about your assessments on the game. I mean, it just is what it is. But okay, so Ghost of Tsushima. I'm probably the furthest into it right now because
How far are you as far as hours played?
I don't know. It doesn't tell you how many hours you've played, but I would say
Well, do you think?
probably 15 hours at least.
Okay.
Maybe 20. I don't know. I've gotten past the first act story wise, and I'm not really chasing. I never really chase the story in open world games. I like to explore a lot. Um, But so far, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I have to compare it to one of my other favorites in a similar genre, which is the Shadow of War, Lord of the Rings game. In that, like, there's some things about this game, Ghost of Tsushima, that I like better. I think the combat is fantastic. Moon Stance, FTW. That's the last. Well, that's the second to last stance that you get. Apparently, there's the 4 stances that you get, and there's a hidden quote unquote stance. Um, I am currently playing it with the Japanese language. I'm probably going to play it a couple other times already. I can tell that it's something that I can play, that I can definitely play over and over again, just because the gameplay in terms of the combat is so fun that it's one of those games to me that, even for some of its flaws, you can just jump into it and like kind of sandbox it. I don't know if you guys kind of understand what I mean when I say that, but like you could just jump in.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, you could jump in and you could just have like a fun combat encounter and try to do it a little bit differently than you did the last time. Because the sword play is so good. Some of the weapons, the side weapons, are pretty cool. I think the stealth is a big failing in this game, which is a little unfortunate. I think
I never
partially,
use it.
well, it's partially because of, I think, the story that they were trying to tell about how it's like something between, or something about the balance of honor between a samurai who,
Yep.
according to the context of this game, which isn't apparently the reality of what a samurai would do, but according to the context of this game, like sneaking around is bad and dishonorable and all this other stuff. But like real life samurais didn't care. So I'm not finding that part of it compelling gameplay wise or necessarily story wise. What I do love, and kind of related to that, that's a kind of a flip side of that, is that there's a lot of detail in this game, and I definitely love games that have a lot of background details and graphical details and things of that nature. One of the things in this game related to using more stealth combat is that the weather changes. So apparently, if you use more stealth combat, there start more storms, like thunderstorms and things like that, start to occur in your gameplay than like sunny
Interesting.
skies or anything like that. So the more you use stealth, the more you see like that kind of weather event, which is, I guess, it ties into stealth because there's foggier, it's a little harder for the enemies to see you and all that. But like, other than the combat, I don't want to say that the game is a failure. We're not going to stick with negativity from our Xbox Showcase event. I really like it, but I think that they could have done more with other aspects of the game that aren't the world building, the exploration, the combat. And I'll leave it to you guys to talk a little bit more about some of these aspects of the game. But I do like how they take you out of the gamey aspect, gamified aspects of normal games. And I think Walt is somebody that's been enjoying that quite a bit. I definitely still stick to some of like my waypoints and like checking the map in the game and things like that. But like Walt, you've said you've been playing it a little bit differently than I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, go on, Walt. I want to hear it also.
yeah, it's interesting because this game, when they first started development on it, this game was actually supposed to be about pirates, which is really really weird. Yeah, when they first started making this game, they thought that they were going to go pirates
There's a video, I
and
think,
stuff,
right?
and somewhere along the line they shifted to samurai, which thank God they did, because you know what, there's not a lot of samurai games out there, and there's not a lot of samurai games that are pretty much done the way that they've done it. A lot of them is kind of these these games where you're mashing buttons and getting 100 kills and 200 kills and things like that all at once and stuff.
Yeah, the
Um,
Destiny Warriors games.
right, exactly, those type of games.
Now we
There's
have
not
this.
really been
We have
a
Sekiro. We have
a
some
samurai game like
better
this.
games
I
recently.
think I think I always wanted Assassin's Creed to get into that space, and they just never did. You know, um, and in a way, this kind of feels kind of Assassin's Creed like.
Yeah.
I For me, I can recognize that there are flaws to this game. Like I said, I don't like the stealth aspect of the game at all. Really,
I only use it when you have to.
and maybe that's
That's it.
right. And right there,
When the
there are times
story,
when you're forced to do it.
yeah, certain
And then
missions.
that's when I'll do it. But I choose to play the game more in the quote unquote samurai way, where you're just facing up on your characters as opposed to sneaking around and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And for me, it's fine. Maybe that's why I never see thunderstorms in my game, because I'm
Right.
always going straight up right at them. I love the standoffs aspect of the game.
Mhm.
um, and when I started the game, there was a part of me that was afraid that this is another game made by a Western company, and they were going to culturally appropriate the game. But the good thing about it, and I think Jose, you're the one that shared this, is that the Japanese have taken this game, and they've really embraced it. As a matter of fact, I think the one of the magazines, Famitsu, actually gave it a 10 out of 10, which would make it the only the third Western game that's ever reached that pinnacle on
Wow.
their reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a good thing. I'm glad to hear it. I'm playing the game right now, just the basic way. But once I am finished with it, I am going to go back and I'm going to play it with the Japanese language with the subs. And I want to play it in the Kurosawa mode, which looks amazing. I've turned it on a couple of times to look at it, and it looks fantastic. Um,
Right.
but I haven't really played. I played a lot of this game so far. I don't think I've gotten as far as Jose has, but I've stayed away from the story missions. I've really been doing a lot of the mythic tales and the tales, those side quests, because the great thing about it, at least for me, is that those tales are kind of like mini stories into themselves,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of it's kind of a good thing, because a lot of the complaints of these open world games is that these side quests, these side missions, they're kind of the same thing over and over again. At least this one, they tried to kind of fix that by providing a story along with it also.
Yeah, the missions are
And so
similar, but at least they make the it's kind of telling the story of the side characters of your like secondary
right,
characters, so
exactly,
that's what makes it much more interesting.
it
Even
makes
if
it
it's
more
the same,
engaging that way.
yeah, even if it's the same, like kind of you go and hack up a few more Mongols somewhere else. That's so fun that like if you put that together with the story that they're trying to tell there, it does work. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
So
One thing that I'm sorry, Gabe. I'm just going to make this one
no,
last
no, no.
point,
All good. All good.
and then I'm going to drop it to you. The game looks beautiful, but I will say this: there is a part of me that does not like the animation of the faces and the facial expressions of the characters. They seem kind of emotionless, and there's not a lot of movement going on. And I don't know if you guys felt the same way. For a game that's so beautiful, I would have thought to have expected to see a little bit more emphasis on the facial expressions of the characters, and to me they kind of felt wooden. I don't know if you guys agree on that.
So I do actually kind of agree on that, and I think that I mentioned this, I think, in the group chat as well before, that one of the criticisms that I have with the, I guess I don't want to say the cutscenes specifically, but like
Oh
I
yeah.
guess it, the smaller cutscenes, not the ones that are pre-rendered, but the ones that are kind of in-game cutscenes in between gameplay and stuff. You have this lush, beautiful environment, all around. They use it too, because in the little cutscenes they'll take a wide angle of the camera and slowly pan away. But then the characters themselves, they're literally just looking at each other and talking and just standing there. There's no body language to read off of. There's no emotion
Mm-hmm.
in the way that they move and stuff. So if he's sad, he's just still standing there. If he's angry, he's just still standing there. There's no
Yeah.
like representation of like emotion in the body. And I think that might be what you might be referring to when it comes to like they look wooden, because they are
Yeah, they
literally
do.
like kind of like on stilts, like just standing there and talking to each other, which is is a big departure from like what again from The Last of Us 2, where like every single cutscene, there was motion, like they're talking on the go, they're doing an activity while they're talking to whoever else is in the cutscene and so on. And that stuff is important because that's a little bit more
Yeah.
realistic to how real, I guess, scenes in a movie or a TV show would be depicted, because this is still an entertainment medium, and we got to kind of compare it to a film, let's say, especially a game that is trying to emulate the Kurosawa films,
You
right?
can tell they didn't
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, Gabe, can I ask a question of you?
capture for this.
yeah, yeah,
Because you did mention the cutscenes, and that's another little nitpick that I had, because it seems like some of those cutscenes, especially the way that they've framed the whole thing about how there's really no load times, that basically when you are reading, they extended the load times specifically so that you could read those little tips on there, because according to them there's no load times, right? So the
okay,
thing about it is, with the cutscenes, they seem very jarring, because like I would tend to think that, given the way that they've done it, and the fact that, like you said, the characters are wooden, wouldn't you think that you would have a seamless transition from where you are into that cutscene, as opposed to you get to the
right.
place, you wait for the person, then the screen goes black, and then you go into this like 16 by 9 version of the thing.
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It felt very
Um,
jarring to me also.
that does feel jarring, but I kind of take it in the context of like they want to separate gameplay from film. They kind of want to represent film, I guess, in those cutscenes, or at least a film style. And it's jarring. It certainly is jarring. But I've gotten used to it kind of pretty quickly, especially because when it came to the gameplay, I wanted to try out the different languages and the Kurosawa mode and stuff like that. And I will say that I played, I would say, like about the first hour and a half in just English mode. Um, and it just didn't feel, it felt very off. Felt like
Yeah.
the way that gosh, what Sakai is the name of the main character.
Lord
I keep
Sakai.
forgetting. Yeah, yeah. So the the way that the voice is being portrayed almost seems like somebody very green around the gills, like not very well versed in the world, as far as like how he's speaking. He sounds very naive. However, when I listen to it in Japanese, his voice inflection and his reactions feel so much more natural to someone that is a lord, that is a warrior, that is looking to take back control. And as much as I hate like playing a video game and then reading subtitles, just because I want to enjoy the actual scene, the environment, everything, and not be looking down at the bottom of the screen, it definitely feels a lot better and more natural when I'm playing the game in
Yep.
Japanese. So currently, I am playing it in English just to kind of give it a fair shake, but I know that I'm going to enjoy it much more in Japanese and in the Kurosawa mode too, which I gave it a shot as well, and it looked really awesome. So the other thing is, as far as my impressions go, yeah, the that's kind of one of the things that I enjoy about this game, especially because of some of the gripes that I had over the last game that we reviewed, is the kind of the ability of being able to play two different ways, right? So I am actually playing it more of a stealth kind of way, just because for me it's the easier. It's for me it's the easier way to get through the game, and I want to kind of get through it, get the story and all that stuff. Um, and I know that I'm gonna play it again a second time in Kurosawa mode, in the true samurai way, where he's gonna like face everybody head on and not be stealthy. So it's gonna be cool, I think, when I give it the second run through in the black and white grainy Kurosawa mode with the Japanese audio and
Yours,
standing
right.
off everybody. Like I like the fact that I'm going to have a completely different experience the second time I play it around. I didn't know about the storm stuff, but that does kind of make sense already now that you mention it, and that's pretty cool. And I also like the AJ mentioned the training, the way they do kind of like the training. It's usually a flashback. So far, everything has been a flashback to a younger self where he's being taught these lessons by his
Yeah.
uncle, which is cool. It's a cool element. Um, to the the game. And again, this goes back to just the way that I felt like if you're gonna tell a story with flashbacks, like let the flashbacks be something that really you know uh I guess amplifies the story, right? Like if I'm like when he learns how to assassinate, he does the assassination and you see him kind of like distraught, questioning himself, whatever it is. Then we go to a flashback and it explains why he's feeling that, so that when you go back to the actual real-time gameplay, now you understand why he feels a certain type of way. And I kind of like that. I like that because the flashback isn't just there as a training mode. The flashback is there to explain the state of mind of the character. So other than that, though, I will say that I think the AI is extremely weak for I'm playing it on normal difficulty, and the AI is just it's super easy to get around the AI and like be stealthy and assassinate everybody with no like qualms and stuff without getting detected. Um, it's just I don't know. I feel like that's it's pretty weak, especially when what makes it weak to me. Um, Again, comparing it to The Last of Us 2, what makes it weak is that the routes that the AI take are very like straightforward angles, and like they like don't deviate, they don't really notice anything. They look blocky. They look like just, it reminds me of Metal Gear Solid, soldiers, if that makes sense, right? They would like, walk in a straight line, make a hard right 90-degree angle, walk in a straight line, look, turn around, and then walk in the exact same trajectory. Whereas in The Last of Us 2, it felt a lot more randomized, and they were looking at the ground and they were looking up and they would walk backwards and things like that, So um I'm a little disappointed with, AI in this game, simply because if you're gonna have a game that looks as beautiful as this game, which shows technical ability at its highest, then everything else needs to, on a technical ability, scale, needs to kind of match that as well. And for me, that's the jarring part. Having really high technical ability with, gameplay itself, like, movement and all that, environment, architecture, and then having AI all the way down here, which shows me like, oh man, like, yeah, there's a clear, stark difference. It like separates, you know, the experience for me. So,
I will say I'm
Um,
actually playing it on hard. It does not get much better in terms of AI at all. If you're playing it
really,
on hard, and I'm playing it on hard, I'm also playing it on
but you say you're not stealthing or
I
anything
do,
like
but
that,
I do
right?
it sometimes because so I do it for a couple of reasons. But I'll say like the other thing that I'm doing to make the game more difficult is expert HUD, which with expert HUD you don't get that little indicator that shows you where enemies have noticed you, like it shows you an arrow kind of. It turns that off.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
also turns off the stagger meter and the stagger life meter. You know how when you hit them a couple of times with your
yeah.
throwing attacks,
Hmm.
it turns that off. And even with all of those things turned off, like stealth is really easy. The only reason that I do stealth at all, and I don't even have to do it anymore, is because when you use stealth at like a Mongol camp, if you
Hmm.
observe the Mongol general before you kill him, you get an extra point towards the different stances. So you know how when you kill him, you get a point, one single point.
Right.
If you observe him first, you can just watch him kind of doing like a kata or something like that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
if you do that, you get a second point. So you get double points just by doing a quick stealth. I don't kill anybody either. I just stealthily like run around the base first, and I just observe the Mongol leader, and then I just right away I'll challenge him or I'll kill him like in full view. But that's the only reason to use stealth in the game
Right. But
at all.
see, yeah, but see, that's as far as like when you're speaking about difficulty, that's it does raise the difficulty of the game, but that doesn't necessarily speak too much about the
No, the
AI,
AI is
right?
still
Like that speaks
terrible. Yeah.
to, that speaks to, like, yes, creating a challenging experience for the player based on taking away tools that the player can use versus having a smart and intuitive AI
Yeah,
system.
like there's
Um,
something to being able
so
to like kind of run away and like reassess combat. Like I think good games do that well, where you have to like find a right egress run in the right direction, find the right spot to hide, and then you can kind of start to stalk your enemies again. In this game, you just gotta like run into some flowers and like crouch, and they won't know where you went.
Right. You know,
And that's kind of
exactly.
rough.
Well, like I think that like this game before. I'm sorry, Eli, that I keep cutting you off. I know I want to get your impressions also, but one quick thing, it's funny. Like one thing again, I keep going back to The Last of Us as far as like gameplay goes. One thing that was kind of ingenious that I don't think I've seen in any games prior to that is the dogs, being able to sniff and find you out and stuff like that. Games like this, especially a game like this one where tracking seems to be something,
Yeah.
that's essentially
And there are
inherent.
dogs in this
Like,
game.
how
too.
can none of the AI?
There are
Huh?
dogs in this game too. There are
Right,
dogs.
there are actually, yeah. But like they don't do any kind of like, hey, like if you've been discovered, like that's something that I think is important. And I think they did that a little bit in Metal Gear Solid
And Far Cry
5.
also.
Yeah.
But like it's like, hey, like this is a samurai game and stuff like that, and these are all warriors. They should know how to find someone that just tried to slice them and then is running away. So
Yeah.
Anyway, Eli, impression.
First things first. One thing that I did like was I know you guys said a lot about the AI, but the AI being kind of iffy, but the one thing I did like was how the archers, for some reason, weren't like stormtroopers. They literally hit every shot
I like the art.
unless you didn't dodge,
Usher!
which was pretty good.
Usher! Usher! I love how they scream.
You know exactly what to dodge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
So
though. I like it.
I really like that. Yeah. But the main thing that I really did like was the historical ties between original Samurai and this game. It gained the respect of Japan, and that should say most of it, but it was really sort of realistic it was really realistic to see how like the samurais had their code, which a lot of games, like you guys said, it really doesn't do anything really well necessarily, and it's really realistic as in using stances, because you can't just defeating an opponent. It's not just attack. You have to think out a strategy first, which is not what a lot of games do. It's a balance between, this game has attacks and a combat system with a balance of offense and defense, which a lot of games just go straight to offense, which is something that's not really seen, but it's unique.
Yeah, isn't it cool that you can switch stances in the middle of a fight? So you kill one guy, switch a stance, kill another guy, switch a stance. That to me is awesome.
And what I really like was about that is that the transitions between each stance. It's like you attack one, but then all of a sudden, once you switch a stance, he immediately goes to the next attack. It's not like where you like glitch out a little bit, you pause for a second, and then you go to the next attack.
It's really,
because I know a lot of games do that. It's really good transitions. Samurai culture was good, which is the next thing I did like was the wind. It was kind of not supernatural per se, but mystical in samurai ways. Is that?
Well, it's a good way of doing it because the samurais, they're all about nature and their connection and stuff like that. So I thought it was appropriate to have a guiding wind sending you to your next objective, because again, it's that deep bond with nature and stuff like that. So I thought it was a beautiful way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to, you don't have to go into any of the menus in this game. If you really don't want to, you don't have to. Except for weapons.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
Well,
you don't have to go into, you don't have to get a map.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You can just
map.
You can straight from there.
You have to kind of use different weapons. You have to switch your armor and stuff like that sometimes. But if you want to navigate the world, you never have to go to any kind of physical map. You could use world markers and wind
Yeah.
and birds and foxes and smoke and all this other stuff to figure out where you need to go.
You can do haiku.
Yeah, my haikus.
But if anything, that's basically it. You guys said most of it, so yeah, I think that's it for me.
Eli, how far are you in the game exactly, hours wise?
Okay,
Or at least that
that
you think.
I didn't really get through much.
They've been playing Dragon Ball.
Of course. Of
Dokkan.
course they've been playing
You know,
Dragon Ball.
non-stop.
Well, it is 5th anniversary, but I would like to get into that game more often.
I have some.
Don't you dare get started right now.
I have some good share.
I will whack you upside the head with my 85.
All right.
Share
All right.
videos for the crew that shows some solid gameplay. Remember, Walt, you were saying how you wear the armor all the time. I always wear the traveler's attire, which is like not even really armor. It just helps you find hidden items throughout the world. I don't even put on armor until I have like a Mongol conflict. I've gotten so good at the sword play that it's like Eli was saying a moment ago. It's really about, especially once you get all of the stances, it's really just about being able to switch stances quickly to respond to the closest threat. And like that's all I'm doing basically all the time. A good parry and a good strong attack and a good awareness of who's around you, and you can cut down Mongol
the reason
pretty quickly.
the reason that I don't wear the traveler's attire is because, and again, you know, it's not a criticism of how you play. It's just more of how I like to play. It seems like it's a gimmick, you know. And again, like I said, don't take this the wrong way. It's like I said, it's just the way that I play.
You don't have to go into
You
the
know,
menu with it.
I would rather like to explore and find things than having, you know, something that I wear that is telling me, it's like radar. It feels out of place with the environment and, you know, the time frame that you're in. You know, it's where it's like, you know, you're wearing something that kind of feels techie, that says, hey, guess what? If you go over this ridge over here, you know, you're walking next to an artifact, and because of that, your clothes are going to start vibrating. To me, it feels out of place with the time frame and the time period that you're doing. That's why I kind of like wearing the armor instead. And you know, you can customize these things, and the traveler's attire does look cool and stuff like that. But like I said, for me, I just don't like the gimmick of what the traveler's attire does, you know.
I still just have.
But again, like I said, that's just my preference.
Follow the way.
Yeah, I actually have I kind of like the traveler's attire because the way that they do things, right? Like the way that they do the whole like wind direction and the traveler's attire vibrating to let you know that you're near an artifact.
I love
I think it's really cool and it's different, right? Because the way that a normal game would do it is the wind would be instead an arrow pointing like, hey, this is the direction you need to go, versus doing an artistic way of letting you know. The way that another game might let you know that there's an artifact nearby is like maybe a blinking little dot or like something sparkling to tell you like, hey, investigate that area, you know. So and the thing is that, like, you know, in real life we don't get like all the facilities that we have in real life in a video game, like peripheral viewing and stuff like that. You know, if I wanted to see something that like I'm passing by on the right side and I see it from my peripherals, I don't have that ability in the game. So I like the idea of having that. But at the same time, that's another thing that I really, really enjoy about the game is the ability to have different ways of playing it, you know, kind of leaving the agency to the player, you know, leaving it in your hands to decide how you want to enjoy the story, which is what's going to automatically make me play the game a second time at least.
Yeah, and keep in mind that like I have no HUD elements, so there's almost nothing visual.
Yeah,
so
the vibrating, like having that
cape,
probably helps.
Like it kind of is a way for me to be like, or at least I know that there's an artifact or a banner or something else around here. And I
you know
can
what?
use the wind
That's a good point.
At least the direction.
I think when I play in Kurosawa mode, I'm gonna play without a HUD also, and just play with the traveler's
so much
attire
better.
and stuff. I think it's gonna,
So impressive.
yeah. See, like there's just this is again, these are the kind of things that I like in a video game when it comes to immersing myself in an experience, is being able to decide how I want that experience
I
to
will
be.
say that the
So
only
Yeah, I mean, just look at this discussion that we're having right now. We have 3 different
yeah,
experiences, and we're playing the same game.
well the
You
only
know,
yeah,
thing the
exactly.
only thing that's
That's
annoying, I will tell you, in the expert HUD is when you go to towns that have like a swordsmith or something like that. It's a little bit harder to
mm-hmm.
find them. You have to really be aware of like the banners in front of buildings and stuff like that. Because when
Okay.
you're playing it on medium with the HUD on, you can see the little icon that shows you where everybody is. You don't get that visual
Mm-hmm.
icon at all. You have to like be like, okay, that I see the banner for the swordsman. You have to find them that way and then remember where they are in the different towns.
There's a lot to like in the game. I think that we're probably going to revisit it with maybe a little bit more of a complete review when we finish the game and finish the story and stuff.